Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network. Welcome back to the show. We are joined once again by Liesel Darby, our owner and certified coach from Crown Coaching. Excited that she's back, and we're excited to talk today about what we do best. She's helping women survive, not just during the divorce, but even after the divorce, helping you thrive. So please introduce yourself to everyone before we begin.
Hi there, I'm Liesel Darby with Crown Coaching. I'm a alternative dispute resolution certified divorce coach, which means that I really can help you to calm down the conflict. And you can't get rid of it, but I can help you to engage with it so that it's productive and that you are moving forward and you're not getting stuck.
See, I like when you do your introduction better. It's mine's so broad and you're like so specific, but this is awesome. You've been in this field helping women for years, and your expertise lies in, well, women. And today we're going to talk a little bit about boundaries. I have your notes, by the way. Thank you for that, for sending. And, just in general, just give us a little insight and overview of the types of things you can help somebody with, since maybe they're new to the podcast.
Okay. I can help with all kinds of things. So one of the things, I know whenever you're going through a divorce, because I went through one too, your emotions can be just all over the place. And you can have the big emotions like really being angry, being depressed, being very sad, being very anxious, feeling maybe like you want to get revenge, all kinds of big things. And you don't want to be in that headspace when you're trying to make big decisions during the divorce process that are going to affect your life for a long time. So one of the things I can help you do is to rein those in, get you back in the driver's seat so that you're making your decisions from your prefrontal cortex, which is just a big fancy way of saying just the part that's logical. Right. So you're not all over the place. This also helps you, like when you're presenting in front of any kind of professionals that you need to, whether that's a judge or a lawyer or teachers or therapists, anybody else, so that you're not being perceived as like crazy. That's a real thing. When people are not at their best, they might not be acting in a real professional manner. That gives them credibility to what that they're saying. Also, like I said, I help you to figure out communication styles, especially if you are in a high conflict divorce. One of my specialties is helping you to figure out how to calm that down so that you're not spending hours of every day responding to harassing emails and texts and what he's trying to tell you in the parking lot when you're exchanging your kids and all this other stuff, just so that you can go on and have a good life and leave the craziness behind. So that's what I really try to do, is get you through the thick of the ick and onto your most joyful life, because it is there on the other side.
I love the thick of the ick. This is great. Great conversation as always. Excited you're here. And today, we're going to focus and dive in a little on elements of boundary, right? And maybe, why these are so necessary in your divorce, okay? And, how do we enforce these boundaries? So today, boundaries is the topic. Where do we start, hon?
Where do we start? So boundaries, they're good to have. Know your boundaries for any situation, right? Whether that's family members, whether that's at work, with your friends. But it is particularly so important when you're going through a divorce, especially if it's a contentious divorce. But these will help you no matter, even if you guys are very amicable and are very nice to each other too. The main reason is because you are going from a relationship where you are married, we're a married couple, and now you are going to a relationship where you are not. And whether you are still having to be co-parents or not, it's a different relationship. And I know I've talked to many women where they're like, well, he still wants to, give me a hug when we say hello. He's still overly, familiar with me, likes to pat me on the arm, or, he's asking about what's going on in my private life, or, these things. That it's like, you need to reset the expectations. Mm-hmm. And you can do that. Sometimes people think, well, if I set a boundary, it's like punishing the other person. Yeah. And it's like, no, you're not doing this to be mean to anybody. You're doing this as a form of self-love and self-care and a way to self-honor, because, you're keeping yourself safe and you're keeping yourself comfortable. That's what the purpose of boundaries are.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. So we all should have boundaries, correct?
Correct.
And why are they so necessary when it comes to the divorce process?
You have to, especially, okay, so many things are changing when you're going through the divorce. So it can be things just even as much as, okay, I am not going to answer text after 9 p.m., right? I've got other things going on. We're going to exchange kids in the driveway. I don't want you coming into our house. We're going to sit separately at sporting events for the kids. That just things to help you separate, because again, you're in a different kind of a relationship right now, and it's very clear that you teach them how to treat you.
Yes.
Because this is what we do. We teach other people how to treat us. And it, like I said, it doesn't have to, you're not being mean, you're not being overly, forceful or harsh, but you do have to let the other person know is the thing that you're valuing when you set a boundary. So you want to give this some thought and be very intentional about this. You don't want to just be saying, well, if you if you leave the toilet seat up one more time, I don't know what I'm going to do. Or, I have some other examples like, let's see, I don't want to talk about my personal life when we're exchanging the kids. I don't want you to be asking me who I'm dating or how, people are going. It's changing. So what you got to do is you have to figure out what are your deal breakers, right? And what is it that you're needing out of this? Are you needing respect? Are you needing personal safety and personal space?
Yeah.
Are you needing to respect your time? Are you needing to respect physical stuff? Are you needing to respect safety issues, peace of mind? All these things you have to figure out, what is it that I need to respect? Or what is it that I need that person to honor about me? And then the trick is you have to be able to set a boundary that you control what you do. So we always want to see, well, I'm setting boundaries because I want them to change. I want them to treat me a specific way. You don't matter what they do. It matters you're changing your behavior, which is a different way to think about this. You don't ever want to set a boundary that you don't control what you do in case that boundary is not respected. Okay, so you can't say, I want you to have the kids home at 8 o'clock or else. What are you going to do if that happens? They're not, and I'll tell you what, these guys, well, not just guys,
I know.
Whoever's on the other end of this, they will test your boundaries because they want to see if you really mean it. So one thing that's so important is if you set a boundary, you must be consistent with it all the time. Because the minute that you break your own boundary, it is worthless. It's meaningless. So even if they're being nice, because this happens a lot, it's like, well, I started out being really strict, but then they were really nice, and I let it go, and that's like the worst thing you can do.
It always bites you in the butt. I'm sorry, but it does. Mm-hmm.
It does. And now what are you going to do? Because now it's going to be 10 times harder to reinforce it because you've let it go, because the message you've sent is, I don't mean what I say. Right? So you have to be consistent. So be choosy about this, right? Again, so maybe it's something like, I'm not talking about my personal life with you. And then what you're going to say is, and here's the other thing. This is very important. You only state a boundary one time, just once. And you can tell them, like, if you ask me what's going on in my personal life, I'm going to say, I'm not going to talk about my personal life with you. And if you continue to do that, I'm going to walk away. And you say that once. You don't give 3 strikes. You don't give reminders. You say that boundary one time. Because if you say it more than once, then you're trying to control somebody else. Right? You're not trying to control anybody else. This is for you.
Yeah.
So you're going to say it once. You're going to let them know what it is. If they cross it, you've already told them what you're going to do. All you have to do is do what you said you're going to do.
Hold on. Can I just ask you about boundaries? Because I have a situation as well. We all do. But
Yeah.
What happens when the other party uses the kids and tries to fish for information from them, disrespecting your boundaries? For example, about personal life. Who's mom dating? What's mom doing? And then poor kids get involved. This has happened before.
Oh, it happens all the time, I'm sure. It happens all the time. Well, here's the thing. You can't control what anybody else does, right? So what would your response be if one of your kids comes to you and says, Mom, Dad's asking about, who you went out with last Saturday? And so it comes when that happens, again, and we kind of talked about this before, turn it back on your child and just say, how does that feel when Dad wants to know things about my life?
Mm-hmm.
That's where you have that kind of a conversation, because you can't stop the other person from asking your kids. You just can't. You can have a conversation with your child about how does that feel to be having to go back and forth between us and answering questions for the other person. And you can always tell your child, you know what, you can tell Daddy if he has questions for me, he can ask me. And then when he asks you, which he may or may not do, then you say, you know what, my personal life is my own, not discussing it.
Mm-hmm.
And again, you say that once. And it keeps happening. So here's where we get into trouble, because we want to think that, I'm going to set this boundary. They're going to respect it from here on out. I will never have to deal with this again. That's not going to happen. They're going to test you. They're going to push that boundary as many times to see if you mean it, right? So let's say in this situation, you've laid that boundary down and you've said, look, don't be, I'm not sharing personal information. It's not right to be asking the kids that. I'm talking to the kids about that. I'm going to instruct them that if you have questions about that, you are to come to me. But I'm also going to tell you that I'm not talking about my personal life with you.
Yeah.
You say that once. If it happens again, you just don't answer. You talk about anything else. Your favorite flavor of ice cream, talk about something that the kids are doing in school. Anything else except for giving him personal information. Mm-hmm. And you don't have to keep announcing it. You do that one time and one time only.
Got it.
And that's a new thing for people to hear, I think. I don't think that's when we're taught about boundaries, I don't know that that's actually one of the things that's taught. So just say it once. Just once. Any more than that, you're trying to control somebody, and you can't control anybody else.
I just got to bring this up quickly because we have time to talk, and we always talk. And this is not even about the ex. This is okay. My son's father, my little guy. Well, he's 8. We dated before I even had him. We've never dated since, but he's always in my business, and it's involving the kids lately. I just found out last night he goes and sends my sister a text on February 3rd saying, "Hey, Austin said." Jill, Austin's my son, went out with some guy. He's bald. I think he's from the car dealership. Look, I found this picture, but this can't be him. He has hair. So now I found out my son's father is going behind my back, and my own sister doesn't tell me until last night when I mentioned something. Oh, I never tell my sister anything because she always goes behind my back with it was like an ex-boyfriend, but we have a kid together. And I'm like, I went on a date with someone 2 times, right, in the past few weeks. And I never told my sister, didn't tell him. But, of course, my son, not getting involved, but he also goes through so he went through my son's iPad to look at my messages because I have nothing to hide. But that's what upsets me, and this just happened. So there's no boundaries. And now he doesn't know that my sister told me now, but I know he knows because he hinted about stuff, and now I know why. But none of his business. But it causes drama and fury to me, to my children, disruption, and I don't like it one bit. And I've tried the whole don't talk about my relationship, I'm not talking about it. But every time he sees me, he wants to talk about my relationships, or he talks to my kids about it. My sister says, he has an alternative agenda. I said, but no, he doesn't. I said, we don't have that relationship. Well, deep down, he probably does. I said, but I can't have my kids involved in this all the time. So,
right.
Anyway.
And it's none of his business. I mean, it goes back to what are your boundaries going to be? So you want your boundary to be, I'm hearing you right, stay out of my business.
Yeah.
It's none of your business. And don't be asking the kids. And don't be asking my family.
Mm-hmm.
So you have no control over him, whether he asks them or not.
I know, I don't.
But so, what could you do? Who could you say something to?
Well, I haven't said anything yet because, the overreaction factor always comes in when you're angry about something, upset. So I haven't said anything. And I don't know what to do. Do I not say anything? Do I say something to him? But I feel like it's a pattern. It's happened with the last person I dated for 2 years. Same thing. He's always finding out from the kids what I'm doing, where I'm going. And I don't know. It's none of your business. But so I don't know how to handle this time because I really want it to stop. Any suggestions?
Well, one thing you can do is I'm just thinking about this. Maybe say something to your sister or your family, whoever does this, and just say, you know what? I really don't want drama. I would really appreciate it. Just don't feed into this.
Don't
He might
engage.
ask you. Yeah, he might ask you about this. I would just appreciate if you didn't. And then you got to leave it because again, you can't control what they say. Um, so the other thing you can do is again, have just a little conversation with your kids, very light, just like and here's another thing you can do is just be careful what you tell your kids. So if you don't want them to be saying things about you, be careful what you say, what you tell them, because if they don't know, they can't say. And kids are innocent in this; they're not trying to cause problems. But it's too easy for dad to say, "Hey, where was your mom last Saturday?" And they go, "Oh yeah, she was out having fun with."
I purposely don't tell my kids anything. But
Yeah.
when I got picked up one day, they saw out front and they said something about some guy being bald. So now my ex is trying, he's not even like my ex, but whatever, trying to piece
Yeah.
together who I'm with, what I'm doing, went through the kid's iPad and saw text messages from the person. So he knows where he works. And I'm just like,
Yeah.
damned if I do, damned if I don't. And I'm like, I can't. That's why I try to keep everything away from the kids. And I usually don't get picked up at the house, but I'm like, ugh. Okay.
So I'm going to turn this around on you.
Okay.
Okay. So what can you think of some way that would be to make that less traumatic for you? Is there something you can think? Is there a thought you can think that would be helpful to maybe viewing this in a different light or being able to let this go and, kind of be a little zen?
I have to look at it this way because this has been an ongoing pattern. And my sister even said last night, he clearly has other intentions and I don't think so, but she's like, Jill, he always does this. I said, yes, but you always do this with him behind my back as well. So I don't tell you my business. I don't tell anyone my business. And then it becomes this big, exciting, what's Jill doing? Why is everyone in my business in the first place? So I told my sister, I said, look, I just, please, she's like, I won't engage. She's engaged. But I just said, please, I said, just enough. This has to end soon. It can't be doing this. And I got off the phone with her and all day I haven't talked to her. I haven't talked to him. I don't, whatever. But I just think might just not say anything. Could I try that aspect of it and just act like it doesn't bother me? Don't say anything. Don't say my sister told me because in the past I'd be like, I found out that you just let it go and just.
So one of the things, so it takes two people to be having a fight, right? And to be engaged like that, and you're meeting him on how it's making you feel like that. It is absolutely a wonderful strategy to just disengage and just be like, it is what it is. I'm not feeding into this. I'm doing whatever I can to keep my personal life personal, but there are things outside of my control, and I just have to let that go. And you know what? Who cares if he knows?
Yeah.
Like, what difference does it make if he knows?
Yeah, really doesn't.
And so maybe part of it is he knows maybe it gets a rise out of you, right?
Well, he also, that what he has done in the past paints me in a bad light. Oh, your mom went out. She left you home with the babysitter. And I'm with them 24/7. There's no every other weekend. So I get ridiculed for going out once every 2 weeks with someone. And it's like, he tries to paint me in a bad light. Well, I shouldn't be going out. Meanwhile, he doesn't go out, but it's none of his business. So anyway, back to boundaries, baby, back to you. And we'll talk
about boundaries.
I know, right? Where do we leave off? What's next on the agenda? Sorry.
That's okay. I'm glad that you're talking about this because what you're going through is just so common with so many people. The more that you can just disengage and be like, it doesn't matter. Not the optimal thing, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's see what else. Having boundaries is a way of asserting your own power, right? And becoming you can be very calm and very just in your space of knowing this is what's important to me and I'm protecting that. And here's the other thing, and I kind of talked on this before, but you don't want to let up on your boundaries unless you're really ready to do that based on just how the other person is acting. So your boundaries don't have anything to do with how they respond.
Yeah.
If you set a boundary, it's that because it's your value. You're setting that boundary because of your value. What it is that you're valuing, that you're protecting. So how they are acting has no bearing on what you're valuing. Right? Does that make sense?
It does.
Okay. So, and the other thing you don't have to defend your boundary. Like if they're saying, well, why are you doing this? You don't have to explain it. You don't have to justify it. You don't have to, give your reasons. No is a complete sentence.
True.
And you don't have to get their buy-in. That's another thing. A lot of people think, well, they'll understand if I explain it this way, and then they'll respect it and I won't have to deal with this anymore.
Yeah.
That usually doesn't happen.
Yep.
This is, it's blah, blah. Should be a very simple thing, right? Is like, my boundaries, please don't step over them.
Yeah.
And all is peaceful in our kingdom. And that just usually is not how it happens, which is why we have to talk about it. Like, that's why you have to, if you state a boundary, you have to be consistent with it. You are the one whose behavior is going to change. And you can't say anything you're not willing to do. I can't stress that enough. You have to follow up. If you said it, you have to do it every time, every time. And the good thing is that eventually this person should get tired of it, and you'll have demonstrated your consistency. Like, oh, I know if I do this, this is how she's going to react. So blah, 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 boring. They'll get tired of it and move on to something else. But again, you have to be consistent with it. That's probably one of the biggest things I have to say here.
And when you say boundary, it makes me now think, put like an electric fence around you. That's like a boundary. Zap, zap, zap. Eventually the person's going to stop because they don't want to be zapped, right?
Hey.
Yeah.
It's called conditioning.
It's like Pavlov, dog, the bell, the whole. Yes, good.
Yes, and so real quick. So intermittent conditioning response, intermittent response there's a whole industry based on this, right? The gambling industry, and it's when you're inconsistent. When you're inconsistent with us, that is the strongest thing that will make somebody keep doing it. Because they know that eventually, if they keep doing it, you'll give in and give them what they want, right? So gambling, you're pulling that lever. You don't win every time, but you win enough so that you like, oh my God, I got to get back there. A whole industry is built on this.
Yeah.
So just know it's the most powerful thing. So keep that in mind. That's why if you let it up even one time and you're not consistent, now they're just going to keep going at you even harder because they know that if they keep at it, you will give in eventually. So you have to be consistent.
Yes. Oh, my goodness. Thank you for that. All right. What else about boundaries do we need to discuss?
See, looking at my notes here. Don't be emotional about it.
That's hard. It's hard. I know.
Don't be emotional. It's just a fact. You're just stating this is what this is my boundary. Like again, we'll only talk about the kids for 15 minutes. That's it. Then after that, I'm going to walk away if you continue. I'm not going to be talking about my personal life when we're exchanging kids in the parking lot. If you do, I'm going to walk away. When you're on phone time with the kids, if you start asking them about my personal life, we're going to hang up. And you got to hang up. Just all these things. There's other things like I need everything in writing from you, especially if they are ones to twist words or be inconsistent. You have to insist. I need this in writing. Or else I'm just going to do what I'm going to do. Another thing I tell people is if there's a decision to be made about, a child going on a field trip or a medical thing or whatever, I need a response from you within 48 hours or else I'm going to go ahead and make a decision without you. So there are some kinds of things that you can put in place to make it so that you're not at the other person's mercy.
Got it.
If they're going to play games, you're not going to play games.
Sorry, I felt that sneeze coming on. I was like, oh. I tried to mute it in time. I can't. Okay.
You did. I didn't hear you. I saw you. I didn't hear you.
Oh, I hate that. Sorry. All right. Woo. Okay. And can I just add in my situation with my ghoster?
Yes, please.
I told you all last week that I had a ghoster. I was dating someone for almost a year and a half, a little longer, casually, but kind of serious. And all of a sudden, right after Christmas, ghost silent, not responding, and I'm like hounding, are you okay? And then calling, and then I'm like, clearly I've been ghosted. It was my first acknowledgement, my first realization I've been ghosted. This is so weird. This is cool. This is different. I like experiencing things, but ghosted? My kids, you promised them their Christmas gifts. What happened? Well, then I go out a few weeks later, and I saw his friend at the bar, and he was asking about me, and I'm like, don't tell him you saw me. You don't have to say anything. I'm not going to bring this up to you. You're his friend, and I really adore you, and we're still friends. And Next day I get the call from the ghoster. Calling, texting for, a few weeks. Finally, I went out with the ghoster to, what's tonight? Today is what? Tuesday?
It is Wednesday.
Thank you. Okay, I went out with him on Monday night. And I met him at the bar where we usually go. He had a glass of wine waiting for me. He had my favorite appetizer waiting for me. And it was a nice casual conversation about, he was being really nice. And I'm like, okay, well, this is kind of rude how you did that. And he's like, well, I was feeling you didn't have time for me and the way you were. And every time I saw your kids, you always interject. And I'm like, you never really made time for my kids. I said, don't lie. I said, but this is your opinions and I respect that. And then to go as far as he told me that, I don't like cats. You go and get a cat, then you get 2, then you get 3, then your cat has babies. And, there was times I was allergic to you. And I'm like, okay, I'm like, it's my house. You never slept there. You barely come there. Why do you care that I have cats? Well, you were just getting so many cats, and I'm allergic. And I'm just like, you jumping the gun. We weren't committed. You weren't in my stop. These are my kids, and they like cats, and so do I. Like, you can't tell someone. But it was funny. He's a little quirky like that. He's talking about the cats and allergies. Gets better. So originally he wanted me to come to his house. And I said, no, I'll meet you at the place. I'm trying to respect my boundaries. Only when I call him in the car to tell him I'm coming, I'll meet him there. He's like, well, just come to the house. Like, I made you dinner. I made you your pasta and your fresh mozzarella. And I'm like, no. I said, I'll meet you at the restaurant. So he's like, all right, I'll pack it up then. And I said, yeah, it's a good idea. It's not good for us to be at your home to talk. We haven't seen each other. Yeah. So it was nice. He packed the food. We left. And he's like, Jill, he's like, I really care about you. And next thing you know, hey, can I stop by work the next day? I'm like, oh, okay, sure. Say hi. He said hi. Now he's texting me. He texted me today. Hey, what are the kids? Have they been to this museum? Do the kids want to go Saturday? And I'm like, no, we have plans on Saturday. We're busy. It's so bizarre how he's now all of a sudden up in my everything. And I'm like, what? What's happening now? Weird. Sorry.
Well, what you did is you showed that you're not available to him all the time.
Mm-hmm. And then he asked about Sunday. I go to get my abs worked out, from my friend who has a machine. It's like a AccuFit, it's called. Mm-hmm. And now all of a sudden he wants to sign up for sessions. It's like, will you be there Sunday? And I'm like, I can't be there Sunday. I have church. I have Tuesday. I'm like, I'll be there Tuesday. I said, I'll go Sunday. And then now he's now going to my med spa. Never in his life done this stuff. I'm like, he's really trying, and I'll let him try, but I have my boundaries.
That's interesting.
Yeah. Anyway, that's my update. But anyway,
thank you.
You're welcome. How do we contact you, Liesel? It's always a pleasure talking to you. Thank you.
Okay, I'm Coach Crown. Crown Coaching. You can find me at mydivorcediva.com. My contact information is there. I'd love to work with you. I'd love to help you get your power back, put your crown on.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. You have a fantastic day, and looking forward to, I guess, we back again next week?
Yep. Mm-hmm, yeah.
Beautiful. Always a pleasure. Thanks so much, sweetheart. Enjoy your day.
Bye, Jill.
Bye.
Okay, you too. Bye.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house. And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned. This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.